All right, so, uh, oops, hang on. Mm. All right, can you see my slides? I may have just accidentally exited out of it. Give me 1 minute. Mhm. I apologize for this. I am normally a user of Zoom, not so much Teams, so, oh, somebody's in the waiting room. I'm sorry, I'm usually a user of Teams, not so much Zoom, so let me chat here and I will get back to you all. Ba-dum. All right, let's try this again. All right, now, can you all see my slides again?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the background and the overview of where this RFA came from. This These opioid settlement funds became available first in 2021, and the state began dispersing them to local governments in 2022. Um, the state stipulated that local governments and other organizations must use these funds in accordance with the North Carolina Memorandum of Agreement that they passed. That's basically an outline stating how funds can and can't be used depending on um, how deep the local government wants to go in using these funds to address this crisis. Rocking in November 2024, the Rockingham County Commissioners approved the utilization of about 2 million funds to fund 3-year projects that align with the NCMOA Option A strategies. So this past February, just under 500,000 of those funds were awarded to the NC Fit program. So now there's just a little bit over $1.5 million to be allocated. The county, during this RFA process, will allocate up to $500,000 over the 2-year period, or $250,000 per year or for 2 years. And that's 500,000 per organization. So if your organization chooses to submit more than one bid because you want to address more than one strategy, that's fine. You're welcome to do that, but your organization won't receive more than $500,000 total. If you have any questions, please send them to me. There's my email right there, lwilcox@rockinghamcountync.gov, no later than June 30th at 5 p.m. If you look through the RFA guide, it does say in most places June 30th, but there is one place where it says the questions are due by June 20th. That was a typo. That was my fault. I apologize for not catching that before we published it. But the deadline is June 30th, not June 20th. And it also says we will publish the questions online by July 7th. I don't anticipate it's going to take that long. So, as soon as we get the questions and we get those answers rolled up, we should probably have the answers posted earlier than July 7th. The last thing is that sealed applications are due on July 11th by 2 p.m. Please address them to Amanda Crumpler in Rockingham County's purchasing office, and that is the address right there. You can either, bring them upstairs and we'll get them to her, or just drop them off at the front desk. And as long as they're sealed and they have her name on them, we will make sure that she gets those application forms. I cannot see if there are any questions while I have my slides up. So if anybody has any questions or needs to jump in, just come off of mute and go ahead and ask. All right, these are the 9 components of the RFA. We're going to go through them one by one. Some of them are more straightforward than others. But I want to note that there is an application checklist on page 25 of the RFA guide, so please use it to make sure your application is complete. All right, The first part, the application form cover sheet. This is where you're going to specify which option A strategy that your organization is going to use. Like I mentioned earlier, only select one strategy per application. You're welcome to submit more than one application if you want to address more than one strategy. But make sure you clearly indicate in the box, there's a box to list what strategy you want to address in your application. Make sure you indicate that name and the number of the strategy clearly. And fill out the cover sheet in its entirety, please. Thank you. These are the option A strategies. The county is prioritizing bids addressing strategies 2 through 6. However, they will consider bids for that address any of these strategies. The ones that are highlighted in yellow, 2 through 6, are prioritized. These are the 12 strategies that are in accordance with option A of the North Carolina MOA. The second part is the proposal summary. This is just a brief summary, no more than 250 words, of the project that your organization plans to complete if you're awarded funding. The summary must include the purpose statement and it must have particular considerations for historically marginalized populations. All right, this is going to be the longest section of your application, your project narrative. It's going to include an assessment of the community's need, the project description and program sustainability, equity, organizational readiness, evidence of collaboration, and your performance measures and program evaluation. Please be as specific as possible when you're filling out this project narrative section and use data to support it. There are several links in the application itself where you can find data that's specific to Rockingham County or specific to the facet of opioid addiction that you want to address. So adding data will definitely increase the competitiveness of your application. Make sure you provide any citations or references, for any included demographics or health status data. And you're also welcome to use our association opioid settlement technical assistance site. They have various performance measure ideas for each of the options in the MOA. So that's the link to it right there. Number 4 is the letters of support or commitment. If you're going to work with another organization, you need to include a letter of commitment from that organization stating what that support is going to look like, and you basically just getting a commitment from them. If you're pursuing option A strategies 8, 11, or 12, 8 is post-overdose response, 9 is addiction treatment for incarcerated persons, I'm sorry, 11 is addiction treatment for incarcerated persons, and 12 is reentry programs. Those specific strategies require letters of commitment or support because we already know off the bat that those strategies are going to require additional community partners to implement. So if you're not doing one of those strategies, you will still need a letter of commitment if you're going to partner with another organization. But if you're not, then that won't be required as part of your application. And I also want to note that each key partner referenced in the application must have an accompanying letter of commitment. All right, number 5 is the latest audited financial statements. This is pretty straightforward. Make sure your audited financial statements include a management letter. And if for some reason you don't have that, just provide a written explanation as to why. Documentation of tax ID number. Again, pretty straightforward. Just have a document that states what that is. These are specific nonprofit agency documents. If you're a nonprofit organization, you have to have a copy of your IRS determination letter that states your organization has been granted an exemption from federal income tax. And the name and the address on the letter must match your current organization's address. This letter can also fulfill the requirement for your organization's tax ID number. So if it's on here, then you don't have to submit it separately. Even if it's applicable for your organization, an authorized representative should submit verification that the organization remains a qualified 501(c)(3). Number 8 are certifications and required forms. These are the forms that are located at the end of the application that are required to be submitted. Don't wait too long because some of them require signatures from board chairs or elected officials, and 2 of them do require notarization. Number 9, the last component is the budget worksheet. You may have noticed in the application, the budget worksheet is not posted on the website with all of the other bids. You have to email me directly to get a copy of that budget worksheet. So make sure you do that if you have not reached out to me. Again, my email was listed at the beginning, and I'll put it out again before we leave. lwilcox@rockinghamcountync.gov. But you will need to submit that budget worksheet as part of your application. Use it to document your anticipated program budget, including your line item calculations and a budget narrative. And the budget and budget narrative must comply with the budget requirements that are outlined in the RFA guide. The budget itself is not scored, but if it's incomplete or it does not accurately support your proposed project, there will be a deduction from your final score. All right, all of these programmatic requirements are listed in the RFA guide. I'm not going to read the entire slide. I just put them up here for your reference, so that if you go back and you look at these slides later, they're all right there. There are certain unallowable costs, including purchasing vehicles or paying down mortgages, certain capital expenses, research, lobbying, and reimbursement of any pre-award costs. These are the reporting requirements. The county will require periodic quarterly reporting. So this is the due dates of when all those reports will be due. Again, you don't have to write any of this down. The slides will be available, and all this information is in the guide as well. So just a few reminders. The RFA guide is your friend when creating an application. It has everything in it that you need to know, including the evaluation criteria that the reviewers are going to use to review your application and score your application against other applicants. I highly encourage you to read the NCMOA before you create your application to make sure that your proposal aligns with the requirements that are outlined in Exhibit A. There's a link right there to, excuse me, Core NC, which has a lot of good MOA related resources. It has the MOA itself, but it also has an FAQ guide and a breakdown to make the MOA a little bit easier to understand. So I encourage you to review those resources as you're submitting your application as well. Select only one strategy per application. If you include any partners in your application, you need a letter of commitment or support. All selected applicants, we need you to adhere to strict reporting compliance to show how you're following the MOA. This recording will be posted on the county webpage no later than June 20th. It's not going to take that long. It's not going to take us a week to post it. Questions are allowed to be submitted until 5 p.m. on June 30th, like I mentioned before, and applications are due by 2 p.m. on July 11th. So what happens next after you submit your application? Well, Rockingham County staff will screen all of the applications, one, to make sure that they're complete and they're eligible under the guidelines that the county's published, and that they're eligible under the NCMOA as well. Reviewers will review the applications using the scoring criteria that are found at the bottom of the guide. Reviewers may contact applicants for clarification if they choose to do so. They may, if your application is complete or something is unclear, they may contact you to get clarification, or they may not. So that's why it's in your best interest to make sure your application is complete and as clear as possible before you submit it. Once they have scored all the applications, they will make a funding recommendation to the Rockingham County Commissioners. The Rockingham County Commissioners will make a final funding decision, and applicants will be notified of funding decisions, whether you are awarded funding or not, by August 22nd. What questions do you have? I'm going to stop sharing my screen now so that I can see you all.
So the application has to be submitted in person, the actual application and supporting documents to Amanda.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
You can submit it to Amanda directly, or just submit it to the front desk at the Rockingham County Government Center. As long as it has attention Amanda Crumpler on it and it's sealed, we'll make sure she gets it.
Thank you.
Lauren, this is Lisa Ellington. How many copies will be required to be submitted to Amanda? And will it all be paper copies, or will there also be an expectation of an electronic uh, copy as well?
It'll all be paper copies, and you only need to submit one. I'll take
Okay,
them and I'll scan it all in, and I'll make sure that each reviewer has their own copy. So you only need to submit one. Don't do it electronically, just bring it all hard copy. Thank you for that
okay,
question.
thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a question. So, if we're submitting uh, as a consulting agency that's going to be helping some different folks that are working in the area there, you're saying we need to have a packet that comes in. We can't submit it electronically to you. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
So we wouldn't email you the packet. We would need to make sure that we mail the packet and it arrived there by 2 o'clock
Right.
on the date that it's due.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
And the reason for that is transparency, because I won't open any of the bids until after the deadline has passed. It just gives everybody a fair and equal chance to be selected.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm. Any other questions? Thank you all for dialing in today. I'll stay on the line for another 5 or 10 minutes in case anything else comes up. And like I said, we're going to post these slides to the Rockingham County bids webpage where the RFA application materials are already posted. And then after the question deadline on June 30th, we will post the answers to any other questions that I receive via email as well. But if y'all don't have any more questions, I'll stay on the line just for a little bit longer. I appreciate you dialing in today, and we look forward to receiving your application. Have a good rest of your week.
Lauren, I have one more question for you.
Okay,
So if your total anticipated available is 1.5 and the maximum is 500,000, so really you could fund three of the 500,000. Is that correct? Just trying to get an idea of how many, if people are putting in for less, obviously there'll be more, but sort of if everyone put in for the maximum, you'd be funding three proposals.
that's
Am I
exactly
thinking that
right.
correctly?
And it may be more, like you said, if folks don't request the full amount.
Okay.
And Amy, this is Derek Southern, the Assistant County Manager, and I do want to follow up a little bit on that. The original proposal was for 2 million. When we did the first round of this application a few months back, we did award nearly 500. So we are trying to award the remaining 1.5 for this initiative.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, if we don't have any more questions, then I guess that's all for today. Thank you for dialing in and for your interest, and have a good rest of your week.
Thank you, Lauren.